In this episode, we're gonna read an excerpt from an amazing book, Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude by Napoleon Hill and W. Clement Stone. Before I begin, thank you so much for liking, subscribing, and commenting on my videos. I really appreciate it. I love the support and it helps my channel grow. Thank you so much. Now, let's get into it. Chapter 15, Your Magnificent Obsession. With the idea that we are about to give you, you can have riches far beyond your fondest hope. This idea will bring you a wealth of happiness, for you personally will expand, and you will receive affection and love, both of a quality and a quantity you have never ever dreamed possible. This principle was expressed dramatically on many occasions by the author Lloyd C. Douglas. When Douglas retired from the ministry, he moved into a more extended form of inspirational teaching, the writing of novels. His ministry had reached hundreds, his books reached thousands, his movies millions, and to each he preached the same basic message, but it was never so clearly expressed as in the novel The Magnificent Obsession. The principle is so obvious here that those who need it most may not see it at all. It is simply this: develop an obsession, a magnificent obsession to help others. Share yourself without expecting a reward, payment, or commendation. And above all else, keep your good turn a secret. And if you do this, you will set in motion the powers of a universal law. For try as you will to avoid payment for your good deed, blessing and rewards will be showered upon you. No matter who you are, you can have a magnificent obsession. Every living person can help others by sharing a part of themselves. You don't have to be rich or powerful to develop a magnificent obsession. Regardless of who you are or what you have been, you can create inside yourself a burning desire to be helpful to others. Take, for example, the sinner with a magnificent obsession. You'll never know his name. That's the secret. When he was asked to help the Boys Clubs of America, an organization the sole purpose of which is the building of character in children, with a small donation, he refused. In fact, he was more than rude to the man who had called to interview him on this occasion. "Get out," he said. "I'm sick and tired of people asking me for money." As the representative was walking toward the door to leave, he stopped, turned around, and looked kindly at the man sitting behind his desk. "You may not wish to share with the needy, but I do. I'll share with you a part of what I have, a prayer. May God bless you." And then he turned swiftly and left. You see, with a flash of inspiration of the Boys Club representative had remembered, "Silver and gold have I none, but such as I give unto you." And a few days later, an interesting thing happened. The man who had said, "Get out," knocked on the door of the club's representative's office and asked, "May I come in?" He brought with him a part of what he had to share, a check for $500,000. As he laid the check on the desk, he said, "I am giving this on one condition, that you never let anyone know I did it." "Why not?" he was asked. "I don't want my name to represent to boys and girls that I am good. I'm not a saint, for I've been a sinner. And that is why you'll never know his name. Just he, the Boys Club representative, and the greatest giver of all know the name of the sinner whose money was donated for the purpose of helping boys and girls avoid doing the wrong things he had done." Like the Boys Club representative, you may not have the money, but you can share by giving a part of what you have. And like him, you can be a part of a great cause. And you, too, when you give, can give generously. Your most valuable possession and your greatest power are often necessarily invisible and intangible. No one can take them. You and you alone can share them. The more you share, the more you will have. Now, if you doubt this, you can prove it to yourself by giving a smile to everyone you meet, a kind word, a pleasant response, appreciation with warmth from the heart, cheer, encouragement, hope, honor, credit, and applause, good thoughts, evidence of love for your fellow man, happiness, a prayer for the godless and the godly, and time for a worthy cause with eagerness. If you do experiment by giving any one of the above, You will also prove to yourself what we have found is one of the most difficult principles to teach those who need it most: how to cause desirable actions within yourself. Until you do learn, you will fail to realize that what is left with you when you share it with others will multiply and grow. And what you withhold from others will diminish and decrease. Therefore, share that which is good and desirable, and withhold that which is bad and undesirable. Be part of a great cause. We know of a mother who lost her only child, a beautiful, happy teenage girl who brought laughter and inspiration to all who were fortunate enough to know her. In attempting to neutralize the grief of her loss, this mother developed the most magnificent obsession and became part of a great cause. Today, she is among the many thousands of American women who are making this world a better world to live in because of the wonderful work she is doing and the beauty of her magnificent obsession. We wrote and asked her if she would lend enough to share with us the inspiration which helped her develop her magnificent obsession. Her response was, "The searing agony of losing our beloved daughter is never far away in my mind. Conceived in love and nurtured with love, she held our entire future and all our hopes in every sense of the word. The Almighty took our only child from us at the age of 14 and a half. It is impossible to describe our loss. The bright promise of the future went dull, for the light of our lives had been snuffed out. Everything that we had lived to the full became empty. All that was sweet turned bitter. My husband and I reacted as does everyone. Our very existence was encompassed by the eternally unanswered question, why? My husband retired, we sold our home, and seeking an escape, did extensive traveling. Only when we came face to face with the harsh reality that we could not run away from our sadness and our memories did we return. Slowly, ever so slowly, we recognized that our loss was not exclusive. We had sought solace and found none, for our motives were self-centered. It took months for my mind to begin to accept the fact that all the joys of children and good health and security are blessings in the Almighty loans to each of us. These infinite mercies, which we finite persons presume to take for granted, should each be cherished for their true meaning and great and irreplaceable value. How could I earn the right to keep my others' blessings? How could I show my appreciation and thanks to heaven for allowing me and my husband's love, for living in this great nation of ours, for my friends and my 5 unimpaired senses, for all the good things that surrounded me? Now my efforts to find myself began to move in the right direction. Although bereft of my dearest possession, the Almighty had given me in recompense an empathy with people and a clear understanding of the problems besetting each one of us. Proportionally, my own understanding in relation to adjusting to my loss grew apace. As my service in helping others increased, I sought to find a niche in social work that would ultimately give me the opportunity to leave my small heritage for humanity in lieu of my beloved daughter, and found the answer in the City of Hope. Now, as surely as time passes, my peace of mind, call it a magnificent obsession if you will, gains in stature. It is my earnest wish that all who suffer loss of a loved one can find comfort and serenity in service to others. Today, the City of Hope, National Medical and Research Center, renders entirely free patient care. Its services are dispensed on the highest humanitarian level in the belief that man is his brother's keeper. This wonderful mother found peace of mind in a truly magnificent obsession. The entire nation, in fact the entire world, can be affected by the magnificent obsession of just one man who wants to share a part of what he has. Irvin Rudolph was a man who shared a part of what he had and developed a magnificent obsession that changed the attitude of people from negative to positive. The seeds of thoughts in the book grew into a magnificent obsession. At the age of 7, Irvin Rudolph became an orphan. He was bound out for his room and board. At an early age, he read Self-Help by the Scottish author Samuel Smiles, who, like Modern, had become an orphan as a young boy and had found the success and the secrets of true success. The seeds of thought and self-help create a burning desire in Modern, which grew into a magnificent obsession and made his world a better world in which to live. During the boom that preceded the Panic of 1893, Modern owned and operated 4 hotels. Since the operation was entrusted to others, he was devoting much of his time to writing a book. Actually, he was fulfilling a desire to write a book that would motivate American youth as self-help had motivated him. He was working diligently on his inspirational manuscript when an ironical twist of fate struck him and tested his mettle. Modern entitled his work "Pushing to the Front," and he took as his motto, "Let every occasion be a great occasion, for you cannot tell when fate may be taking your measure for a larger place." And at this very instant, fate was taking his measure for a larger place. The misfortune that struck him would have ruined many a man. What happened? The Panic of 1993 struck. 2 of the Modern hotels burned to the ground. His manuscript, nearly completed, was destroyed. His tangible wealth went down to the drain, wiped out. But Modern had a positive mental attitude. He looked about him to see what had happened to the nation and himself. His first conclusion was that the panic was brought on by fear of the value of the American dollar, fear caused by failure of a few large corporations, fear of stock values, and fear of industrial unrest. Those fears caused the stock market to crash. 567 banks and loan and trust companies, as well as 156 railway companies, failed. Strikes were prevalent. Unemployment affected millions of persons. Because of drought and heat, farmers experienced crop failures. Modern looked about him at the shambles in material things and human lives. He saw the great need for someone or something to inspire the nation and its people. Offers came to him to manage other hotels. He turned them down. A desire had caught hold of him, a magnificent obsession. And he combined it with PMA. He set to work on a new book. His new motto, a self-motivator: every occasion is a great occasion. If ever there was a time when America needed the help of a positive mental attitude, it is now, he told friends. He worked over a livery stable and lived on $1.50 each week. He worked almost incessantly day and night. He completed the first edition of Pushing to the Front in 1993. The book received immediate acceptance. It was used extensively in the public schools as a textbook and a supplementary reader. Business houses circulated it among their employees, distinguished educators, statesmen, and members of the clergy. Merchants and sales managers commended it as a most powerful motivator to a positive mental attitude. And in time, it was printed in 25 different languages. Millions of copies were sold. Modern, like the authors of Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude, believed that character is the cornerstone in building and maintaining success. He believed the highest and best achievements are noble manhood and womanhood, and that the achievement of true integrity and well-rounded character is in itself success. He taught the secrets of financial business success, but he also entered a perpetual protest against dollar chasing and overreaching greed. He taught there is something infinitely better than making a living. It is making a noble life. Modern showed how some men make millions and still be utter failures. Those who sacrifice their family's reputation, health, everything for dollars are failures in life, regardless of how much money they may accumulate. He also taught that one may succeed without becoming a president or a millionaire. Perhaps one of the greatest achievements of Modern's magnificent obsession was the awakening of men and women to the realization that they could experience success if they would only employ the virtues they would like their children to have. Perhaps fully as rewarding to Modern, Pushing to the Front was instrumental in changing the attitude of the entire nation from negative to positive, and that influence was felt throughout the world. Modern demonstrated that a burning desire can generate the drive to action that is imperative for great achievement. As you have seen, it took courage and sacrifice for a reason, Sweat Modern, to bring his magnificence into reality. A magnificent obsession does take courage. You may need to stand alone in combating and repelling the ridicule and ignorance of the experts. Like great discoverers, creators, inventors, philosophers, and geniuses, you may be termed crazy, nuts, or a crackpot. The expert may say that you are trying to do can't be done, With time, your burning desire and constant effort will bring your magnificent obsession into reality. When they say it can be done, find a way to do it. A magnificent obsession will conquer in spite of the obstacles that stand in its ways. Many years ago, a student of the University of Chicago and his friends went to hear a lecture by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle on spiritualism. They went for a lark. They meant to scoff. One of the students, J.B. Ryan, was impressed by the seriousness of the speaker. He began to listen. Certain ideas impressed him. He couldn't dismiss them from his mind. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle referred to men of great repute who were searching into the realm of psychic phenomena. J.B. Ryan decided to investigate and to engage in some research. In referring to the incident some time ago, Dr. Ryan, director of the Parapsychology Laboratory at Duke University in North Carolina, said, "There were things said that I should have known as a college student. During and after the lecture, I began to recognize some of them. My education had omitted many of the things that were important, such as ways of seeking the unknown. I began to see some of the faults of the educational system of the day." He became interested in the freedom of all to secure new knowledge. He began to resent a system whereby seeking the truth in any form or on any issue became a taboo. He began to develop a burning desire to learn the truth scientifically regarding man's psychic powers. His burning desire turned into a magnificent obsession. Ryan had planned to devote his life to college teaching. He was warned that he would lose his reputation and that his earning power as a teacher would be impaired. His friends and college professors ridiculed him and endeavored to discourage him. Some began to shun him. "I must find out for myself," he told a scientific friend. The friend responded, "When you do find out, keep it to yourself. No one is going to believe." He did keep his discoveries to himself until he was able to develop confirmed scientific proof. Today he is honored and respected throughout the world. Over the past 45 years, his battles have been figuratively knuckle fighting every inch of the ground in combating taboos, ignorance, antagonism, and ridicule. One of the greatest obstacles with which Dr. Ryan has been constantly plagued over the years has been the lack of necessary money for expanding his research. At one time, for example, his only EEG machine was assembled from the remains of one found in a junk pile. It had been discarded by a hospital. Have you ever thought that you can develop a magnificent obsession by becoming a part of a great cause and by sharing a part of what you have? If you have, you have already realized that there are many college and university professors today whose magnificent obsessions are to seek the truth in various fields so that all mankind may be benefited by their discoveries. Because such persons spend all their time in searching for these truths, they are almost always handicapped by the lack of money to buy necessary equipment, provide for their own livelihood and the living of others, engage in working on the project, etc. You can become a part of such a cause and thus fulfill a magnificent obsession of your own. You can find such a dedicated person in almost any college or university. Money and a magnificent obsession. You might ask, how can we mention money in the same breath with a magnificent obsession? If we did, we would respond, isn't money good? Is money good? Is money good? Many negative-minded persons say that money is the root of all evil. But the Bible says, love of money is the root of all evil. And there's a big difference between the two, even though one little word makes the difference. He had been amazed to the authors to observe negative-minded persons react unfavorably to Think and Grow Rich and its contents. For these negative-minded persons might earn in a singular more than they now earn in a lifetime by changing their attitude from negative to positive. To do this, it would be necessary to clear the cobwebs from their thinking regarding money. In our society, money is the medium of exchange. Money is power. Like all power, money can be used for good or for evil. Think and Grow Rich has motivated many thousands of its readers to acquire great wealth through PMA. They have been inspired in Think and Grow Rich by the biographies of such men as Henry Ford, William Wrigley, Aaron L. Doherty, John D. Rockefeller, Thomas Alva Edison, Edward A. Phelan, Julius Rosenwald, Edward J. Book, and Andrew Carnegie. Now, the men whose name you have just read established foundations which even to this day have in the aggregate in excess of $1 billion. money set aside exclusively for charitable, religious, and educational purposes. Today, expenditures and grants from this foundation total in excess of $200 million a single year. Is money good? We know it is. The magnificent obsessions of this man will live in perpetuity. And the story of the life of Andrew Carnegie will convince the reader that Carnegie shared with others a part of what he had: money, philosophy, and something more. In fact, Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude would not have been written if it were not for Andrew Carnegie. That is why this book is dedicated to him and to you. Let's talk about him and you. Let's learn from his philosophy. Let's see how we can apply it in our lives. A simple philosophy grew into a magnificent obsession. A poor Scottish immigrant boy became the richest man in America. His inspiring story and motivating philosophy are found in the autobiography of Andrew Carnegie. As a boy and throughout his life, Carnegie was motivated by simple fundamental philosophy. Anything in life worth having is worth walking forth. This simple philosophy grew into a magnificent obsession, and before he died at the age of 83, Carnegie had worked diligently for many years to share his great wealth intelligently with those then living and with future generations. While he lived, Carnegie was successful in giving approximately $500 million through direct grants, foundations, and trusts. His contributions of millions of dollars for the establishment of libraries is a well-known example of the application of his standard. Anything in life worth having is worth working for. And the books in these libraries have been and will continue to be of benefit only to those persons who work to get the knowledge, understanding, and wisdom they contain by reading and studying them. In the year 1908, Napoleon Hill, at the age of 18, while working his way through college as a reporter for a magazine, interviewed the great steelmaker, philosopher, and philanthropist. The first interview lasted 3 hours, and then the great man invited the youngster to his home. For 3 days, Carnegie indoctrinated Napoleon Hill with his philosophy, and he finally inspired the young reporter to devote at least 20 years of his life to study, research, and find the simple underlying principle of success. Andrew Carnegie told Napoleon Hill that his greatest wealth consisted not in money, but in what he had learned. The philosophy of American achievement. He commissioned Napoleon Hill as his agent to share with the world. And in his book, he's sharing it with you. While he lived, Andrew Carnegie helped Napoleon Hill by giving him letters of introduction to the great men and women of this day. He advised him, he shared his thoughts with him, he helped him in every way, with but one exception: money. For all he said, anything in life worth having is worth working for. Now, he knew that this self-motivator, when applied, would attract happiness and physical, mental, and spiritual health, as well as wealth. Everyone can learn and apply Andrew Carnegie's principles. It is customary for a man to share part of his tangible wealth with his loved ones, and as he goes through life, or he may do so in his will. The world would be a better world to live in if each person would leave as an inheritance to posterity the philosophy and know-how that brought him happiness, physical, mental, and spiritual health and wealth, as did Andrew Carnegie. The writings of Napoleon Hill make available to you the principles whereby Carnegie acquired his great wealth. They're just as applicable to you as they were to him. Another wealthy man who had a magnificent obsession and shared a part of what he had was Michael L. Benedum. His close friend, United States Senator Jennings Randolph, told us Benedum started on a salary of $25 a week and became one of the richest men in America. He was worth $100 million, and yet the turning point in his career followed a very, very minor incident. As a young man of 25, Benedum courteously gave his seat on a train to an elderly stranger. To Benedum, it was the obvious thing to do, and the elderly stranger turned out to be John Worthington, General Superintendent of the South Perm Oil Company. In the conversation that followed, Worthington offered Mike Benedum a job. Benedum accepted and eventually became the discoverer of more oil than any other single individual who ever lived. Some people say you can't judge a man by the philosophy by which he lives. Mike Benedum's philosophy about money went something like this: I'm just a trustee for it, and will be held accountable for the good I can accomplish with it. both in the community as a whole and in behalf of opportunities for people coming up, even as I was given an opportunity back when. Like so many others with a magnificent obsession, Benedum lived to ripe old age. On his 85th birthday, he said, "I've been asked how I keep going at my age. My formula is to keep busy so that the years go by unnoticed, to despise nothing except selfishness, meanness, and corruption, to fear nothing except cowardice, disloyalty, and indifference, to covet nothing that is my neighbor's except his kindness of heart and his gentleness of spirit, to think many, many times of my friends, and if possible, seldom of my enemies. As I see it, age is not a question of years, it is a state of mind. You are as young as your faith, and today I think I have more faith in my fellow men, in my country, and my God than I have ever had." You live longer with a magnificent obsession. Of course, it's the old story. The man who has something to live for lives longer. We realized this when we became well acquainted with men like the Honorable Herbert Hoover and General Robert E. Wood, who were doing so much for American youth that when they shared their time and money with the Boys Clubs of America. And they were long-lived because of their magnificent obsessions. They devoted their thinking and time to prospects that benefited others, because their lives were the good lives of men with magnificent obsessions. They experienced the pleasure and therapeutic value of the esteem and love of their fellow men. Of course, you may not have the material wealth of an Andrew Carnegie or a Michael L. Benedum, but that does not deprive you of building your own magnificent obsession. At least it didn't Irvin Rudolph. They're all in jail but my brother and me. Irvin devoted his life to helping boys in blighted neighborhoods. His work was in gratitude for having been saved by a new boys club in the rough neighborhood in which he was raised. How did Irvin Rudolph get started in boys club work? He lived in a poor neighborhood, North Avenue and Hasted Street in Chicago. He traveled with a tough crowd. There was plenty of trouble, plenty of things for boys to get into that they shouldn't, and not much to occupy their time to keep them out of trouble. One day, a boys club was started in an abandoned church in the neighborhood. My brother and I were the only fellows in our gang who visited the club, Irvin explained. They're all in jail but my brother and me. If I hadn't been for the Lincoln Unit Boys Club, we'd be there too. Irvin was grateful for what the boys club did for him and his brother, and he devoted his life to helping boys in blighted neighborhoods. Through his enthusiasm and zeal, large donations were received to support the Chicago Boys Club. Through him, men and women of influence were attracted to this cause. I feel that my work is only a token payment of my gratitude to a higher power for bringing me and my brother under this influence. Then he added, "Just visit a boys club, see for yourself the good work that is being done. You will then feel a part of what I feel for the kids who have the need I had." Now, there are thousands of men and women who are fulfilling their magnificent obsession in sacrificing time and money to help the Boy Scouts of America. Your life has benefited their manifestation obsession if you do your best to try to never violate your honor by lying or cheating, and always try to fulfill this responsibility with which you are entrusted. If you keep clean in thought and body, if you exemplify clean habits, clean speech, clean sport, if you associate with a clean crowd, if you stand up for the rights of others against the undesirable influence and coaxing of friends and threats of enemy, if defeat inspires you to try to succeed, if you have the courage to face danger in spite of fear, if you work faithfully and make the best of your opportunities, if you don't wantonly destroy property, if you save money so that you can pay your own way in this world and yet be generous to those in need and give financial help and time to worthy causes, if you do a good turn each day without expecting compensation, if you are a friend to all and a brother to every living man, woman, and child regardless of race, color, or creed, if you are prepared to learn to know the dangers, to avoid negligence, and to know the remedies necessary to help injured persons and save human lives, to share the duties and responsibilities in your home and place of business, if you are polite to all, especially to the weak, helpless, and unfortunate, if you will not kill or hurt any living creature needlessly, but strive to protect all living animals, if you smile when you can, do your work promptly and cheerfully, and if you never shirk or grumble at responsibilities or hardships, if you are loyal to all to whom loyalty is due, to the members of your family, the firm for which you work, and your country, if you respect duly constituted authorities and obey that which does not violate your moral code, if you do your best to do your duty to God and your country, to help other people at all times, to keep yourself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight, then you live and act in response to the imprint in your subconscious mind of the oath and the law of the Boy Scouts of America. What kind of a person would you be if you lived up to these standards? America is great because its people live by a great philosophy. It can be symbolized in the phrase, the great American heart. Henry J. Kaiser was another with a magnificent obsession. He did so much to make his world a better world to live in. A quotation that hung on the wall of a blacksmith shop in England inspired him, as it may also inspire you. It is, what? Giving again? I ask in dismay. And must I keep giving and giving away? Oh no, said the angel, looking at me through. Just keep giving till the master stops giving to you. In reading up to this point, you started where the road to achievement began. You were awakened by 5 mental bombshells from attacking success, and you have been given the key to the citadel of wealth. Now get ready to succeed. That is the purpose of the following chapters. And this is the end of the excerpt. I hope you guys liked it. There's a lot to unpack. It is really, really interesting to read these kind of words by Napoleon Hill, because I don't think a lot of people are necessarily familiar with this side of Napoleon Hill's work, because most of you guys, and even myself included, we're mostly familiar with Think and Grow Rich, and it is important to understand that these are more so conceptual instead of just practical, although it can be very practical, but let's keep it from the conceptual side. It is incredibly important in one's life to actually be of service. And of course, I'm not saying to be of service in spite of your own welfare. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm trying to say is that once we learn how to be loving unconditionally, first and foremost towards oneself, then it will be normal. You'll be led organically to be of service to others, because what you wish for yourself, you wish for others. The good you had wished for yourself, now you wish for others. And this whole chapter could be related to Gary Vaynerchuk's work. Gary Vaynerchuk talks a lot about unconditional giving, creating, being empathetic, and giving, and keep on giving without expecting anything in return. And you can only do this obviously when you're well grounded in yourself and you do it for the right reason. People who don't love themselves do it because they are missing something. When you do this, you are not being very, very selfless. You're actually being very selfish because you have not taken care of yourself first. So you wish to find happiness from others, which means that you need to fill a void that you have inside that you have not dealt with. So once you reach to the state where you actually love yourself, and of course there's always a process and a journey, and you're not completely perfect, but once you love it enough to a certain extent, you'll be bound, you'll be led by the universe, by God, to be of service to others. You'll be a natural, organic thing to do. And it's important to, as he said, to cultivate this in our minds and in our hearts, to cultivate this desire to help others and to make it a magnificent obsession to inspire people. I think why a lot of sports people like the late great Kobe Bryant inspires so much is because, yes, the obsession was basketball and was winning championships and rings, but the end goal and the thing that we can see from this is the desire to inspire people. That was his magnificent obsession, to inspire. And a lot of people at the end of the day, a lot of successful people, they mean to inspire people and give them hope, faith, inspiration. And that's why we need to develop a magnificent obsession. And the magnificent obsession for you is different from the magnificent obsession for me. But the important thing, as he said, it was to give. And magnificent obsession doesn't necessarily need to be a whole huge picture of things that a purpose that you want to accomplish. Of course, it would be amazing as well. And we all should have, to a certain extent, a purpose and a mission in life, which is about to give to ourselves and others, and our loved ones and our friends, etc. But it can manifest, as Napoleon Hill said so eloquently, in the day-to-day life. The smiles we give, the attention we give, the time we give, and not repel people that we can help, not dismiss people who need our counseling. So take the time, give to people, and develop this magnificent obsession for yourself. And even in business, it is very important, and that's where I can relate even more to Gary Vaynerchuk. It is important to give, and in a skillful way, obviously, in a talented way, obviously, but to give with a mindset of unconditionally giving without expecting anything in return, and that will lead us to a guaranteed success. That's why he said, Napoleon Hill and W. Clement Stone wrote at the beginning of this chapter, that it will bring you unlimited wealth. And it's not necessarily what you want, it's not necessarily your goal, and that's okay. You will not necessarily bring you unlimited wealth, but the more you give, the more you receive. It's as simple as that. You have to believe that by giving unconditionally and by really helping your fellow man, you will reap the rewards. And not necessarily, because it doesn't mean that because you give to a person A, you will get this from person A. You might give to person A, B, C, D, E, and C and not get anything in return from them, but you might get something from person Z, Y, and X. So what goes around comes around, and you would do well to dwell on those words by Napoleon Hill and develop this magnificent obsession to be of service of others, whether it be your relationships, your pets, your business, the people you encounter every day on the streets. Try your best and develop this magnificent obsession, which means developing this purpose and this meaning in life to be of service to your fellow man. Thank you so much for listening. If you need more, if you want to know more about me, you can check in the description box below, coaching, books, etc., podcasts. And I just created a new private Facebook group that you can join. Thank you so much.